edition of In the Know. I'm Byron Brown. Tonight we're talking with Morgan Eagle, Southern Sky Brands, and we're talking about veterans and how you can help veterans with some cannabis treatment. And first off, Morgan, talk to us about what led Southern Sky Brands to create specific medical cannabis discount programs for Mississippi veterans.
Well, we do it in a couple of different ways. Thanks for asking. Our facility in Canton, Mississippi is a 70,000 square foot cultivation facility, all indoor grow, state of the art. But our employees there, our head of cultivation, Joshua Kaysen, our head of packaging, Irene Esco, they served our country in the Army. And many of us have family members or have served ourselves. And we understand the importance and value of what those veterans have done for us. So our dispensaries, for example, you could get, anytime you show proof of service or current or previous, you get 25% off your orders. And we have specific cannabis strains that we grow at Southern Sky Brands called Operation Freedom Fire. And it's specifically made as an affordable entry point, specifically for veterans. You show your proof of service and you can go to our dispensary and buy that strain because we found from speaking with veterans and VA associations and things like that, the importance of getting access to this medicine to veterans. We believe that legal access to medical cannabis could really alleviate the sort of opioid addiction crisis that a lot of veterans have. I'm just reading my notes here. According to the Department of Veteran Affairs, an estimated 65% of veterans suffer from chronic pain and are twice as likely to die from accidental prescription overdoses as non-veterans with the opiate medication they're prescribed. So they're looking for a lot of alternatives to that, and we find that to be medical cannabis is a more affordable and treatment for the sort of pain and suffering, be it pain or PTSD or other conditions that a veteran might commonly have.
When you talk about medical cannabis, what success rate are you seeing with those who are taking it opposed to those who are not?
Well, a high success rate. Statistically, again, from the Department of Veterans Affairs, we can see that success rate. I'm not a veteran. My family were served in the United States Marine Corps. I'm a two-time cancer survivor, and from the medication that I received from that, I can say firsthand, and many of us at Southern Sky Brands and these different companies around the state can see specifically what that's done to benefit people instead of the regular medication that you're receiving. Sometimes the medication that you receive when you have a serious underlying medical condition sometimes makes things worse and the healing process more difficult. Medical cannabis gave me the strength to get stronger, to get my body stronger, to be able to fight cancer. And if you think about veterans, all the serious conditions that they can be exposed to, it's sort of the same thing there. We see a tremendous success rate. And getting you off those opiates, and what opiates do, just kind of tearing your body apart, it's a tremendous relief. A plant-based medicine is considerably more gentle on your system and has easier dosages. And you don't overdose. You overdose from opiates. You don't overdose from cannabis usage. So tremendous.
Walk us through the process and how does a Mississippi veteran verify eligibility and sign up for this discount?
Yeah, let me tell you about that. There's a couple of ways. So you get your medical card. Let me talk about that for a second. So Saturday, November 22nd at Martin's in downtown Jackson, the folks at Martin's are putting on a patient drive there. The owner there is a veteran, Joseph Stodgel, and he's agreed and having conversations with him. Hey, well, let's have this event. It's close to Veterans Day. We'll do a big discounted rate for the general public and make cards very affordable. If someone's a veteran and shows proof of service at this event to get your card, he's going to pay for them, which is an unbelievably generous thing to do. Honestly, I was very touched and got a little emotional kind of when he brought that up with us, that we're able to do that. So 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. on Saturday, November 22nd at Martin's downtown. They'll have that event. There are patient drives all over the state to do that. You can go to our website, southernsskybrands.com, or just type Mississippi Medical Cannabis. Let me explain really quick. I'll try to be very concise about this. There's some confusion, especially we'll talk about veterans, that they think I'm trying to get my medical card, but I go to the VA and they can't give me a medical card. You don't go to a VA or your regular family doctor to be able to do that. You go to a medical cannabis doctor. It's a doctor that has an additional certification to prescribe medical cannabis as treatments. So our website, for example, Southern Sky Brands, you can type in your address and it'll give this huge list of all these doctors that are certified to prescribe medical cannabis. And then they kind of put you in that process for signing up online once your conditions are approved, and you pay a fee to do that, and then you get a medical cannabis card. Just showing, like, it's just like a medical permit. Then you can go into a medical cannabis dispensary, which there are a couple hundred all over the state. Those are also listed on southernsskybrands.com to find a dispensary in your area. You show that card and your ID, and then you can come into the dispensary and shop a variety of products. That conversation then changes when you speak to a bud tender. That's an individual that works inside a dispensary. They talk about your underlying medical conditions, what sort of relief that you're looking for, and we sort of help demystify the process of healing for these veterans and for the general public.
And so the medications that prescription drugs that you're taking now, that you might be able to get off of those if you get on a cannabis?
When you think about, let's say someone has PTSD or there's an underlying injury or a spinal condition, maybe see in the military, there's just some very common things that happen in the military. You get painkillers and sort of opiates to block that sort of thing. Opiates, in best case scenarios, are meant as a very short-term solution to do something. It's a highly addictive substance that you can get a hold of that can be very detrimental to your health. And when you're really dealing with very serious pain and suffering, or depression, or PTSD, or spinal injuries, head traumas, cancer, all sorts of things, it's pretty easy to overdose on the amount of medication that you can be given by a doctor, right? And 65% higher cases that veterans overdose from those opiates. It's terrifying. You shouldn't be healing and worried that you might possibly kill yourself or seriously harm yourself by taking medication. Plant-based medicine, like medical cannabis, helps prevent that. Dosaging is easier. There's several consumption methods, from smoking to ingestions to lotions and balms, all sorts of different ways that you can take it. And it changes that. So we kind of say go slow and low into that sort of healing process, so you can find out how to manage things at a considerably more affordable cost than opiate-based medications are.
Are there partnerships in place with the VA, local veteran service organizations, or dispensaries to expand awareness of this program?
So that's what we're working on now, and that's why we do these patient drives, and that's why Martin's is doing this. We are working with veterans organizations in the area, and expanding that sort of demystification of the healing powers of cannabis to people. It's sort of it's a slow and sort of arduous process to do this, but veterans are very open to it. VA groups are very helpful. Again, sometimes it's a little bit confusing getting that information to people, because you're a vet and you only go to the VA for health. So you have to tell them this one sidestep. You don't go to your VA doctor, you go to this other practitioner or doctor that has this additional certification. A local organization called Fifth Squad, which is a veterans organization for veterans here in Mississippi. Fifth Squad is helping us with this as well, and helping to spread this sort of awareness. So we're slowly sort of going through different organizations and telling people. We do drives with the Marine Corps with Toys for Tots and make that sort of awareness available. So and my job as the Director of Marketing for Southern Sky Brands is to make people aware of these sort of things and the things that we're able to do for veterans, which we think is unbelievably important and we have so much respect for, and for the general public as well.
Looking ahead, what changes or improvements do you want to see in Mississippi's medical cannabis system to better serve our veterans?
I think barriers for entry, making that there are a lot of difficulties in getting things done in the state. Thankfully, the people in Mississippi voted a 74% rate to legalize medical cannabis in the state. It was finally passed into the state. But getting information to people, because it's not federally legal, puts a lot of barriers in place. The way that we can talk about the product online, sort of advertising and marketing restrictions, sort of the way that we can process funds and do things, and the way that we can sort of communicate with people. Like, we can't have a billboard outside saying, "Hey, you're next to this business." We're one of the few businesses, like a medical cannabis dispensary, where if you have a restaurant and you want to make sure that people know that you have this excellent restaurant here, you can put up a sign for it. We can't put billboards and advertising other than the thing that's on the very front of our building. So you're constantly sort of overcoming awareness of these sort of things and demystifying what cannabis is to people, and getting rid of existing stigmas around that. Again, those patient drives, other than just signing people up, we have bud tenders in there as well, as not as to sell you anything, but to explain to pre-patients, this is what this looks like. This is what, like, when you go in here, and here's different consumption methods, and here's how long this medicine takes to take effect, and here's what this looks like. Because people are a little bit scared initially, maybe, to come into a dispensary to do that. So we always, I've said demystify a lot, but a lot of our job is demystifying and giving a better understanding of the importance of plant-based medicine.
How is the cannabis business, how's it doing in Mississippi since it passed?
Well, we're at a little over 64,000 patients right now. It's constantly growing. We're growing about 1,200 patients a month. We want to see that grow more, but it's good to see that sort of constant, slow, and steady growth right now. There's 2.9 million people in the state. We would love to get most of those people involved in doing that. Working with the Department of Health, changing sort of conditions. Like, you start with a very small list of underlying conditions you can have, and they keep expanding that list. That also helps us expanding the list of things that medical cannabis can help you with. So moving towards that, and everyone sort of working together to grow that sort of program, we're doing that. We're just trying to accelerate it more and get it in front of more people, and get people buying the safest sort of medicine that they can now. But it's just sort of, like I said, we're happy with the progress, but we would love for it to go even faster, and that's what we're trying to work on now.
Morgan Engle, we thank you for joining us and talking with us.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
All right, thank you very much. And we thank you for joining us for this edition of In the Know. Be sure to join us every Tuesday and Thursdays for another edition. Until then, everyone, make it a good night.